Has Ukraine not only blunted Russia's Avdiivka offensive, but have they actually gone on the offensive themselves? Plus, is Russia using a scary autonomous drone system? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's October 29th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get right into it. Okay, first, taking a look at the control map, there's been one significant update, and it is right here in the middle of the Kharkiv region. You can see this entire section of forest and these windbreaks are listed as now Ukrainian controlled. Now, bear in mind, they've been listed as contested for a while. I mean, you can see quite a while, at least 2 weeks. And so you see now that it's officially marked as liberated. You can see, though, as we work back, right, this was actually it looks like about 8 days ago, this was changed from, or at least this significant portion became contested. It's now marked as liberated, so likely part of a slow, kind of grindy effort by Ukrainian forces to push back. You can see they are purportedly near a town called Serhivka, but when we look on the map, there's not actually any roads around this town, so it's tough to know if this is really this could really be even called a village or hamlet at all. But just like when we see Russia change territories, keep a high level of skepticism. This is sparsely defended turf, and it's going to take. We're gonna have to see a little more before we consider this anything other than a localized offensive. Perhaps a particular company or battalion exerting a little additional effort or exploiting Russian forces who may have been pulled away from some of their usual duties in an effort to shore up forces fighting or to make up for losses in and around Avdiivka. Again, the most significant thing is simply the fact that, what did I do here? Is the fact that there is still no change despite Russia throwing an absolutely eye-watering amount of troops and material in the Avdiivka area. You can see here, it looks like this map actually mistagged the symbology. Again, they're using their artillery shelling symbol for 48 combat engagements with Russian forces, but I think the locations still look about right. They're certainly par for the course. Russian forces driving hard in Avdiivka, achieving very little for it. And fighting outside Donetsk, fixing operations in Bakhmut. And you can see here very little signs of action in and around the region that we just saw as liberated by Ukraine, which leads me to think that, again, this is more of an exploitation of weakness in the Russian lines than a real sort of offensive drive by Ukraine. But again, if you guys are like me, you love energy drinks. And when I was deployed, I couldn't get enough of them. Unfortunately, they had a ton of sugar. I actually went over the span of my deployment, despite being in a really remote fob, I actually gained like 15 pounds just because so much of my diet was just sugary, carbonated, caffeinated, gross energy drinks. And they weren't even good. They were like, they tasted like energy drinks, like chemicals. Anyway, from that traumatic experience, I launched Strike Gum. This is my gum. I worked with a manufacturer in Denver, USA, to find a way to take all the caffeine and alpha GPC of an energy drink, putting it in a single piece of gum. It's zero sugar, a refreshing mint flavor. Best of all, fits right in your pocket, right? There's no drama. There's no gross carbonation. There's definitely no sugar, just 5 calories a piece. So if you're interested, you can check us out at strikegum.com. And of course, as always, 50% of the profits from this first production run are going to support charities that assist Ukrainian civilians who've been injured or displaced in the conflict. So if you're interested, we have actually the tray on sale. If you're like an energy drink addict, the tray has 75 pieces, so the equivalent of 75 energy drinks. And the math works out to like 68 cents a piece. So if you're looking to save a little money, it's a great, convenient alternative. So check us out again, strikegum.com. Okay, let's talk about this other news that I actually found pretty scary. This is, according to the Institute of the Study of War, Russian forces are reportedly trialing a new version of their Lancet one-way drone that can autonomously identify targets. This is scary tech that they are piloting. Russian sources say they've begun to use this new one-way drone as of October 21st, so just last week. They say it has an automatic guidance system that can distinguish types of targets and increase strike success rates. They're not using it on a wide scale yet, but if you know anything about machine learning, you know that you need a lot of data to try to get it to work. Just like the automatic, the self-driving cars, for example, right? In my city, we see them out on the streets all the time. And the reason is the cars are learning as much as possible. I actually, the other day, saw an autonomous car, or a fleet of autonomous cars, navigating the downtown after like a big game, probably to try to teach them about how to navigate around people. Didn't feel great to be a guinea pig for somebody's science project. But the point to take away from that is that these systems probably are being used and are being trained on how to recognize targets, what constitutes a successful strike, because ultimately those final seconds, if we've seen the footage, as they approach the target, they begin to get blurry, they begin to lose their connection. And so something that can autonomously understand what is a tank, what does an infantry fighting position look like, identify it itself without having to rely on a connection, means that it could circumvent Ukrainian electronic warfare efforts to jam these drones, right? Because if the drones can think for themselves without a connection, it's one, if you're thinking, wow, this is some scary Skynet level stuff, yes, but also it would allow them to beat Ukrainian electronic warfare and, again, walk that drone all the way to its target, right to the moment of impact and with no latency, right? Because remember, the drone that we see, it has to take that signal from the drone to some sort of midway point, maybe even a satellite or a radio tower or a cell phone tower, and then send it to the drone operator, and then they have to run this feedback loop. And in those final milliseconds of a strike, that feedback loop can become too long. Whereas if it's inside the drone itself, if the drone's brain is doing the thinking, that loop can happen a lot faster. It can make tiny adjustments, guiding itself to the target. Now, is this really AI? I mean, this is describing AI or machine learning, and I believe it. It seems pretty crude, right? This seems like the first time we've heard of a system like this. And I imagine it probably isn't much more sophisticated than, say, a heat-seeking missile that also looks for a signature of a vehicle and tracks it down. But you doing so using some sort of learning software is going to potentially make this a lot more lethal and allow it not require specialty drone operators, which is itself kind of crazy to think that literally in the 2 years since the war started, drone operators went from being a niche role to absolutely essential to combat, and now literally they're being phased out months later, replaced by an autonomous system. But the payload is reportedly 3 to 5 kilograms, probably not enough to significantly damage. It says most critical military targets, so armored vehicles, but 3 to 5 kilograms, again, delivered with a ultra high level of precision. An AI system, again, you're talking about down to the meter. It could really, really be lethal if you were to give it, say, hey, here's the most sensitive part of a Ukrainian tank. I want you to target it. Here's the most sensitive part. Here's the way to identify the entrance to a bunker. I want you to go inside of it before you detonate. An AI system can probably be trained to do that if the machine itself has the technical abilities to get into that space with that level of precision. Anyway, guys, that's all I had for you for today. As always, thank you so much to our Colonel tier members at combatvetnews.com. Thanks to our Lieutenant tier members. And you guys know on Tuesday, we're going to be checking out probably the footage from the Israeli invasion of Gaza. It certainly is pretty salacious. So definitely, if you're a member, don't go anywhere. And if you aren't, you want to become a member. World peace, still quite a ways from achieving it, but I'm here for you guys. Anyway, that's all I got. Hit like and subscribe. See ya.